Hello students, today we are going to discuss the policies to control the business cycle. You are already aware about the concept of business cycle and phases of business cycle. So, it is important to control the business cycle. Why? Because many harmful effects have been created by the business cycles not only on world economy but also on Indian economy. Many workers, in case of recession, many workers have lose their job and results into large scale of unemployment. Also, it reduces the level of standard of living. In case of inflation, it mainly affects the poor people and those who have a fixed income. Means it increases the gap between rich and poor person. Means it increases the income inequality and it is harmful for the economic development. In order to bring economic development, it is important to control the business cycle. So how we can control the business cycle? So there are two policies to control the business cycle. First, that is the fiscal policy, and second, monetary policy. So now in this session we are going to discuss about the fiscal policies. So what is mean by fiscal policy? Fiscal policies are controlled and implemented by the government and monetary policies are controlled and implemented by the central bank. Fiscal policies are related to the government borrowings, government expenditure and taxation. There are two types of fiscal policy, discretionary fiscal policy and non-discretionary fiscal policies. In discretionary fiscal policy, deliberate actions taken by the government. And in non-discretionary fiscal policies, no deliberate actions taken by the government to change, to control the business cycle means to change the aggregate demand, means to reduce the aggregate demand and to increase the aggregate demand. So, these are the two types of fiscal policy, discretionary fiscal policy and non-discretionary fiscal policy. Non-discretionary fiscal policies, they are also called as a automatic stabilizer. Why? Because they are automatically manage the aggregate demand means by increasing government expenditure and by reducing the taxes. Now we are going to discuss, firstly, we will consider about the discretionary fiscal policies. So, discretionary fiscal policies means deliberate actions taken by the government. So, which are the deliberate actions taken by the government? There are two ways to control the fiscal policies. So, first we will consider about the recession condition. And then we will consider about the inflation condition. So, in case of recession, which are the discretionary fiscal policies? In case of recession, first discretionary policy is increase in government expenditure and second reduction in taxes. So now first we will discuss the first way, first discretionary fiscal policies in case of recession. So what is our aim in case of recession? In case of recession, our aim is that we have to increase the aggregate demand and we have to increase the money supply in the market. Why? Because in case of recession, less money supply means less liquidity found in the hands of the people. So how can we increase the liquidity in the hands of people? So first way, that is by increasing government expenditure and second by reducing the taxes. First we will see the government expenditure. By increasing government expenditure is an important tool in case of recession, means to cure the recession. Means government may increase their expenditure by investing in public works. Which type of public works? Such as building roads, dams, ports, telecommunication, electrification, such type of public work government can do and through they can generate the employment opportunity. By generating employment opportunity, they can increase the liquidity, means income in the hands of the people. As income increases, it increases consumption, and as consumption increases, it increases the aggregate demand. Means ultimately it increases the money supply in the market. Means in case of recession, first discretionary fiscal policy, that is the increase in government expenditure. Second policy, reduction in taxes. Before coming to this point, first we should know the disposable income. So what is mean by disposable income? Disposable income means it is a part of personal income which is left behind after the deduction of direct taxes. Means the formula of disposable income is equal to personal income minus direct taxes. So the second way is reduction in taxes. By reducing the rate of taxes, we can increase the disposable income of the individual. As disposable income increases, means income level increases, it increases the consumption level. As consumption increases, it increases the aggregate demand. As aggregate income increases, it increases the money supply in the market. Therefore, this and in that way we can cure the recession. Means which are the discretionary fiscal policies in case of recession? In case of recession, discretionary policies are increase in government expenditure and second, reduction in taxes. Now we are coming to the next point, that is how to control the inflation. So which are the important fiscal policies to control the inflation? So in case of inflation, inflation means there is an increase in general price level. We have already achieved full employment. So inflation means increase in general price level beyond the full employment level. In this condition, it is also harmful. So which are the fiscal policies we have to implement in we have to implement. So we have to so the first policy, that is the which is exactly opposite to the recession. Means what is the aim in case of inflation? What is our aim? So in case of inflation, we have to decrease the aggregate demand and we have to absorb the liquidity from the economy, which is exactly opposite to the recession. In case of recession, we have to increase the aggregate demand and we have to increase the money supply. But in case of inflation, we have to decrease the aggregate demand and we have to absorb the liquidity from the economy. So two ways are important. First, which are exactly opposite to the recession. First, decrease in government expenditure means government have to reduce the expenditure on defense, on subsidies, on transfer payments, on such various things. So by reducing government expenditure means by making our budget surplus, we can control the inflation. This is the first way, and the second way, that is by increasing taxes, which is exactly opposite to the recession. By increasing taxes, we can absorb the liquidity from the economy. It means individuals have to pay more tax in case of inflation. In that way, we can absorb the liquidity from the economy and we can decrease the money supply from the market. So these are the ways to control the inflation. So in case of recession, we have seen we have to increase the government expenditure. How can we increase the government expenditure? That we have seen, but how is it financed? For increasing government expenditure, it is needed finance. It needs finance. So how can we finance the increasing government expenditure? By borrowing and by selling the government securities to the public. Also, by printing new currency, we can finance to the increasing government expenditure. So these are the discretionary fiscal policies to control, to cure the recession and to curb the inflation. So to cure recession, two important policies are first, increase in government expenditure and reduction in taxes. And to control inflation, first policy by decreasing government expenditure and by increasing taxes. So these are the fiscal policies through which we can control the business sector. So now we are turning towards the next point, non-discretionary fiscal policies. It is an alternative to discretionary fiscal policies to control the business cycles. They are also well designed by the government. Means no deliberate actions taken by the government. For example, tax structure. In India, tax structure is progressive tax structure. Means higher income group should pay higher income tax and lower income group should pay lower income tax. Means ultimately these forces are working in the economy and they can cure the recession and inflation. If in case of recession, if there is a low income, they have to pay low tax, and if in case of inflation they have high income, they have to pay higher tax. Means automatically they are working in the economy. Therefore, non-discretionary fiscal policies, they are also called as automatic stabilizer. Automatically they are managing the aggregate demand. So tax structure we have seen. Also the corporate tax means companies and corporation also have to pay percentage of their profits as a tax to the government. In case of recession, if they have a low profit, they have to pay low tax, and if in case of inflation, if their profit is more, they have to pay more tax. Also, third example in case of non-discretionary policy, that is the transfer payments. Which are the transfer payments? The unemployment allowances given by the government, subsidies given by the government for the welfare of the society, also the pension schemes of the government. So these are the transfer payments. In case of recession, government can increase expenditure on transfer payments, and in case of inflation, government can decrease the expenditure on transfer payments. So these are the non-discretionary fiscal policy, and they are automatically working in the economy, and therefore they are called as an automatic stabilizer, and they manage the aggregate demand. In case of recession, it decreases the aggregate. In case of recession, it increases the aggregate demand. In case of inflation, it increases the aggregate demand. So these are the fiscal policy we have discussed. What we have discussed, the fiscal policies, two types of fiscal policies, discretionary fiscal policies, non-discretionary fiscal policies. In discretionary policies, fiscal policies, we have studied two conditions, recession and inflation. In case of recession, two policies, and in case of inflation, there are two policies. So through these fiscal policies, we can control the business cycle. For this topic, I have referred the book of Macroeconomics, Theories and Practices of HL Algebra. If you have any problem and if you want to do any solution, you can do me a feedback. Thank you, students.